Preston Market has been for the past several years the site for a highly contested development plan, as noisy arguments have bounded between the landowner, different levels of government and community groups, making for a fascinating case study to consider power in planning. Preston Market has been a privately owned market since it opened in 1970. In 2004, the site was purchased by Salter Properties. In early 2017, the owners applied for permits to redevelop the land to accommodate residential buildings and reshape the area. After considerable outcry from community groups to protect the existing character of the market, Darebin City Council refused to grant the permits. The owners appealed to VCAT, where permits were granted in late 2017. VCAT granted the permits on the grounds of the strategic location of increased density to the benefit of future residents. Also in 2017, the state government's Minister for Planning designated the market as a strategic development site of state significance, and it removed Darebin as the planning authority. The state government committed to the Victorian Planning Authority, a state apparatus, reviewing the planning controls and delivering a structure plan appropriate for the site in the context of the developer's proposals, community concerns, and the intent expressed in Plan Melbourne for such well-connected activity centres. Two community groups, Save Our Preston Market and Darebin Appropriate Development Association, have made a lot of noise via protests and publicity on protecting the market. The developers have committed to operating the market for decades to come, but the community groups continue to express concerns that their perceived character of the market will not be retained. In their minds, the character is expressed in the built form, the specific location of the market within the larger site, and the mix of stalls. Despite their best efforts, these groups have been unable to have the site granted heritage protection. Indeed, as private land, even if the existing buildings were retained, the owners cannot be easily compelled to continue to operate a market. The community feels intense feelings of ownership over what is a private space, notably the only privately owned market of its style within Melbourne. In response, Darebin Council has declared the market as the heart of Preston and that the owners have a social obligation to the community to recognise and protect the market as a treasured local cultural asset. Over the past couple of years, the Victorian Planning Authority has rolled out its bureaucratic phases of community consultation. Judging by continued efforts to call out the development, the community groups appear unsatisfied with such consultation. Now, in August 2020, the VPA has identified the Preston Market redevelopment as a project to be fast-tracked to spur on the economic recovery following the global pandemic and associated lockdowns, seemingly reducing further stages of community engagement. To amend a quote from our readings, there can be no adequate understanding of the Preston Market development without placing the analysis of planning undertaken within the context of power. There are a number of players exercising power in various manners, be that through ownership rights, planning schemes, land use controls, governmental authority, or protest and publicity. Theory of power in planning will help illuminate and unpack power within this dynamic issue. Certainly, Yifter lens of planning as a tool of state control via land use controls is laid bare as the state government has brushed aside local council and community and is now poised to fast track over any remaining engagement in the name of the developers' seemingly offered economic outcomes, taking precedence over all else in the face of a deep recession. But power in planning isn't as simple as that. The community groups, while seemingly a bottom-up social movement, continue to attempt to corral the state government to pull those levers on land use and overlays in the favour of their neighbourhood character over the developers' ownership. Maybe that's the challenge of engaging the community in bureaucratic systems at which the state is still the core. But the community groups must also be examined for the power they yield. As Murdoch stated, those who are powerful are not only those who hold power, but those who are able to enroll, convince, and enlist others into associations on terms which allow these critical actors to represent all others. The term community group is broad and provides a certain status of social authority, but who do these groups represent and speak for? Who do they not speak for? They certainly do not speak for the future residents of those developments that VCAT was considering. Which voices are they speaking over? And whose neighbourhood character do they want to protect? The fight isn't over yet, but already the fight is a case study with which to unpick power and planning in the hope to improve the outcomes for the precinct.